Hi Andy, I'm gonna take a look at your work again. You've submitted a few videos, so I'm gonna start with this one. I quite like it. There's just some things that about pops and fluidity that I think you could work on, but overall I really like it. So yeah, let's go into it. So the first thing I notice is, you see how when he lifts the hands, it seems that they are stuck on the ground. I don't know if you wanted to convey that feeling, but for me it feels weird because he shouldn't be stuck on the ground. He should have them be able to move their hands freely. So the first thing I would just do is see all this. So the arms straighten, and after this point the arms are just stretching, and it seems that, look at the wrists are just like not even moving, so it seems that the both hands are just completely stuck on the ground. So what I would do is, just after the arms straighten, just lift the hands of the ground, just transition to the next pose. Also be careful with this. See the elbow here? You have to be careful because this is gonna read as a pop when you play it. See? See that moment? It's just a tiny polished detail, but if you can just try to smooth that out. So instead of just going from here to straight, make another frame where the elbow is a bit bent, and so the next frame straightens. So the transition from bent to straight is a bit smoother. Then okay, he would have the wrist already on the air by now. Then I like how you overlap the hands a lot, and that's okay, but I feel like they come too close and then they make the arc. So if you check this movement is a bit linear on the arms, and then they go and create the arc and the overlap. So maybe instead of here, I would have the arms a bit further away from his body, so he creates the arc all the way from where he lifts the arms from the ground all the way to the next pose. He's creating the arc. Then I think that's something to do with the rig, but if you check here, it's like almost breaks here and then boom, goes back to normal, I think. But yeah, if you can check that out, so it's a bit doesn't create that kind of mesh. I don't know if you can fix it, because I don't know, but if you can, that would be great. Also, you see how the arms rotate, but the shoulders stay in place. If you can, I don't know if you have controls for the shoulders, but make sure that when the arms go forward, the shoulders go forward, and when the arms go back, the shoulders go back. I don't know, maybe you have it a little bit, but for me, they feel a bit rigid. See how the shoulders don't seem to be rotating much. So if you can rotate them a bit more, yeah, I think they are rotating, but I think just a tiny bit more would be good. Also, I like the anticipation. I like the ease into the anticipation, and then boom, I really like this part. The only thing is, when he makes the hit, see how the hips are completely stuck there? So he starts to hit and the hips are just completely stuck, and then they start to move. All this from where he starts to lean forward and all that, I would make the hips start to move forward, because he doesn't want to be in balance anymore. He's already attacking, so you don't have to worry about like keeping him in balance. He's already going to unbalance himself forward. So start to move the hips forward there so they don't feel stuck. And then boom, he throws the arms. And then be careful, because this is a big pop. See, because also you have that, see this frame here on the arms? So the arms are traveling a lot, then they travel just a tiny bit, and then they travel a lot again. So make sure that the spacing is more fluid. So the spacing gets bigger or gets smaller, but doesn't get bigger, one frame gets smaller and then gets bigger again. So try to make that spacing more coherent. Also here, be careful here, because also in the body, see how in the body the head and everything, it's just fluid, boom, and so they stay there. Then one frame goes down and then the next frame goes up really fast. So try to avoid having that kind of movements where the body moves in one direction for one frame and then in the opposite direction for one frame, but with a big spacing. Try to make it one direction or the other one, and if it has to change direction, create that is in, is out, or that overshoot, but don't make the character pop from one direction to the other one over just one frame. Also, if you check the hips, whenever we stop a movement with the feet, the hips are not gonna stop the movement on the same frame. They're gonna take a bit like 1, 2, or 3 frames to settle down. So do you see here how he plants the foot and then the hips just don't go any lower? Just a tiny bit, create a easing so that the hips keep moving down just a couple frames more, so we can see the weight settling. See what I talk about the pops? See how the body, just when he punches, it's something weird on the body, and you can track it mostly on the tree. See how the tree goes down, the green part goes down, then fluid, boom. Then we have this first thing here where there is a kind of a pop back. So maybe this frame, if he's going to go back, the head, have the first frame where he's changing direction with a smaller spacing. So all the time when the change of direction happens, make the smallest spacing on the first frame, and then you can increase the spacing. But always the first frame when the character changes direction, doesn't matter if it's the head, the arms, anything, make the smallest spacing on the first frame, because otherwise it feels like a pop, like a jerky movement. So see how, see if you drag the tree, it's not a fluid motion, it is not creating an arc, it just like feels a bit jerky. So if you drag the tree, just make sure that it's more fluid. So and maybe you're gonna fix that if you first fix the hips. When you first fix the hips, so that he starts to move forward with the hips in these frames, and maybe it's gonna facilitate so that you can create a smoother arc on the tree. and when the hands go back, see how they go back and then stop. They frame spacing big, boom, they stop and then forward, and then back again, and then forward. So and I don't know if you wanted to create an overshoot, but to create an overshoot, it has to be, you have to give it more frames. You have to be even more in this movement that involves the whole, both arms. Just if you want to create an overshoot, make it like at least 2 or 3 frames, so that it settles and then it settles. It's not like 1 frame back and then the next frame forward. So boom, maybe this frame have the wrists not that bent, so keep them a bit forward still, the arms a bit forward still, so that from this frame to this frame we still have movements. So from frame 53 to frame 54 in here, the wrists still moving back and still rotating up, so you have that ease into the pose. So instead of just reaching the final pose on frame 53, make the frame 53 just in between this one, 52 and 54, so you have that ease in on the hands. And also see how the body does something weird here. When see here, this is a massive pop on the body. See how the body goes back and then goes back, boom, then all of the sudden, maybe, okay, the arms get there, so maybe you accelerate this, increase the spacing a bit, but then boom, boom, then keeps moving back and boom, a huge spacing here, and all of the sudden stops. See how big spacing forward on the body and the head, and then all of the next frame completely like he had hit a wall, and then back. So yeah, just overall try to track all the parts of the body to make sure that the ease-ins and the ease-outs, when they end a movement, when they start the next one, that you have the sufficient amount of frames so that the transitions, the movements are smooth, that you don't have a big spacing for a change of direction, that everything is has a start, a beginning, and also see here when he lifts the leg, also I feel like it's a bit too fast. See how leans back and then boom. See the leg as well, how goes from straight to bent over 1 frame. Again, make it the transition a bit smoother. So maybe at this frame he's already lifting the leg, the frame before he's already lifting the leg, so we can start already to see the leg bending, so the transition is a bit smoother. But yeah, I mean, apart from the pops and just polishing the movements, making fluid arcs and everything, I really like the timing and the energy of the shot, which is something that most of students struggle with. So that you already have that sense of timing, the energy, that you already have it, that's really, really good, because you just need to practice polishing and creating fluid movements, because the energy, the timing, which is probably the most important part in animation, I think you're really good at it. So yeah, keep up the good work. Oh wait, we have more animations. Let's see this one. Okay, yeah, for this one is more of the same thing. The energy is great. The only thing is see how, okay, anticipation, then anticipation again. See, I'm not sure this anticipation. I think I would record reference for this one. It feels a bit odd, this anticipation pose. It's not really clear. Maybe if he's gonna punch the floor, it seems here, maybe you would have the arm a bit more up. I don't know. Maybe try to record reference and see what would you do. But overall, maybe because if he's gonna punch like this, from up to down, maybe you would have this. If you want to have it, this anticipation with the arm like that, maybe you would create a line of action on the back, like a reverse C shape, so that the energy flows from the leg to the arm. Ooh. So you would have probably, so see how you here have that kind of a C-shaped, C-reverse shaped line of action. Maybe you would have the same, but a bit bigger. So it goes from like a stretched C-shaped line of action and bent C-shaped line of reverse C-shaped line. So from from stretched reverse C-shaped line of action to a squashed reverse C-shaped line of action to this one. So just because this pose, I'm not really liking it too much. It feels a bit broken, the back. I can't read much where it's the leg. So yeah, if you could work a little bit more on this anticipation pose. Also, see, again, this spacing is really too big for this movement. You need to have, see how look at the spacing here. See how the spacing is small, and then boom, changes direction over one frame. You can have a big spacing for the last frame, but you can't have a big spacing for the first frame. What I mean is, when he's gonna punch, it doesn't feel that bad if you have this spacing for the punch, where the last frame, because he's accelerating, he's gonna deliver a punch, and the last frame you want to feel the impact, so you create a big spacing so that we can feel a strong punch. But if you do it for the first frame, it just reads as a pop. The audience doesn't have time to see what's going on. It just see, like they don't have enough time, enough frames to follow what's happening. And then, because I don't know if you wanted to make a punch or he's just leading himself on the arm to jump. I'm not sure, but it feels like a punch. Anyways. Ooh. Also be careful, see how the hand trespasses the floor. You don't want that. you would like to have the arm, the hand just barely touching the ground. So you have to go there and make sure that all the fingers, none of the fingers are going through the ground. That's something that us animators have to do all the time. When we have to animate props, the character walking, jumping, everything, you have to make sure that on the frames that any part of the body contacts the ground. You have to make sure that it's just barely touching it. It's not going through, or it's not just not even touching it. It has to be just barely touching it. And then boom. And see, if you want to jump this way to the right, I would make, see how when he goes up, the inertia is going up right now. So he builds all the inertia on the arm when he's jumping is going up. And then, but then, boom, he moves to the right. So make sure that if you want the character to jump up right, that in the inertia, when he's building up the momentum, the character starts to move towards that direction. Because right now he just has the inertia moving up, so he wouldn't have the energy to move himself to the right now. Also be careful with, I don't know if you wanted to animate also that he's pushing himself with the feet, but it doesn't read well because he's already has the foot lifted here and then goes down again, so I'm not sure what you wanted to do there, but anyways, again, track the tree and you'll see the pops, because that's the most visual thing in the animation. So if you see here, okay, he goes down, he ducks down, so maybe also the arm, follow the path of action, see how the arm goes, is going up and down and up and down, and then locked on that place, and then so track the arms and make sure that they are moving up or down, or if they move up and down, it's a transition. They don't pop back and forth, up and down, frame by frame, but you have make sure that track it so that frame by frame they are either moving down or up, but they don't do this up down up down up down. And also this, when what I talked about the tracking the tree, maybe here you would want a nicer line of action, maybe curve the torso a bit more so you can create that C-shaped line of action through this arm. Maybe that's something you would like to do, even this arm. So instead of just keep moving it to the right, drag it back, so you see how the arm is here. So instead of moving to the right, maybe drag it back, bend it a bit, so you can create that nice line of action through the arms, so a bit more curved. Doesn't have to be super exaggerated, but a bit of a nicer line of action. And then see on the head, this is a massive pop. You cannot have this over one frame, so maybe this one is okay. This one, don't exaggerate it that much. Keep the head low so that the transition is a bit smoother. If you track the green parts, make sure that they are creating arcs, that there's not a big spacing just over one frame. So okay, what you wanted to do is like a jump, start, and boom, the attack. It's great, but I think the main issue is that you reach the pose, but then the character completely freezes there. So it stops rotating, the arms stop moving, it's just like there's just this arm moving, and that takes out a lot of credibility. So as you have it here, so he starts making the movement again in this frame. So you have 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 5 frames where the character is just almost frozen there, and you also have a very big spacing on these frames. So maybe instead of just reaching this pose that quick, add a bit more frames to this transition, so this transition is a bit smoother, and then you can have like a 3 frames, 2 frames where the body stops a bit, just the arm catching up, and then accelerates again. But make it a bit more smoother, so it's not just like reaches the pose, freezes, and then starts again. A bit more like I like the idea, I like the energy, but just a tiny bit more subtle. Also, again, the arms, track the arms so that if they are going up, in here they are leveling, but then they go down again. And also in these frames, the frames where he's just on the side, you would want to avoid these kind of things where we don't read the character's body. So here he's just like doing a world attack. Okay, so in here maybe you would have the arm, we would see the arm dragging back as he's just like the arm comes from this side. So instead of just making the arm completely disappear, track the last frame and see where the arm could be. So maybe you would have a bit of the arm just dragging back here, and then from this one, maybe instead of maybe a bit forward, so it's not completely on the side, so it's dragging a bit as well, so you create a bit more overlap there. Same here, I can read anything that's happening here, so maybe just add a bit of drag on the arms so we can see all the time the arms, because otherwise now it's just like arms, no arms, arms, no arms, arms, no arms. So one frame we see the arms, the other frame they disappear, and this is a really fast attack, so we need to see the movements all the time, because otherwise it's just too much things going on that we cannot track all the things happening. So yeah, that would be the main thing. Just make the arms visible all the frames and track them, so if they move up, they move up, if they move down, they move down, but they don't change direction over one frame all the time. Okay. And yeah, same with the feet. Just drag them so to make sure that they are creating arcs, that they are not popping back up and down. So yeah, just drag the wrist, drag the feet, drag the hips, drag everything, the head, the green part, frame by frame individually. So first one thing, the next the other thing, and make sure that all the movements, all the transitions are nice and fluid. And then here when he leans over the front leg, maybe you would want to when he leans forward, see how he leans over this leg. Well, maybe you would want to rotate the hips in the opposite direction, because here he's putting the weight more on this leg, so these hips actually would have to rotate in the opposite direction. And then as he moves back, it's okay. And at the end, I just think it needs a bit more overlap overall. Maybe when he just does this thing, maybe add a bit of overlap on the head. Doesn't have to do much, but right now it feels a bit too leveled, the head. So I see that you have a little bit, but maybe, well, maybe in this part no, but in the end you see this rotation. I think it needs a bit more drag and overlap. So maybe here drag the head a bit back, so the three things drag back a tiny bit, and then they move forward, so they don't rotate completely still. And maybe also, as he plants this arm first, maybe raise this side of the chest, and then as he plants the other one, you raise the other one, and so it gets level up. Because right now we don't feel the weight when he puts the arms down. So maybe if you animate, so he puts one and he puts this one, and we can feel how it's lifted, and then the other one, and lifts the other side. So we can vroom, vroom. So we feel the weight as the character plants both arms. So this side go up, and then this one and this side goes up, and the chest gets level up. I think would be a more dynamic. But yeah, I mean, keep up the great work, man. I will really like to see this one with my notes. What else do we have here? Okay, I think this is not a play blast. This is just a screen recording of your Blender file. It's fine. I don't think there's gonna be much timing issues, but overall I would tell you it's better to play blast anything that you want feedback on, because otherwise, even if you have to do one play blast from the front and one play blast for the side view, but do it play blast or like viewport render, because otherwise the timing wouldn't be, many times it is not gonna be accurate. So I could give you notes about the weight or the timing, and it wouldn't be real because it's not playing at 24 frames per second. But overall, my notes here, I mean, it's really good. I really like the overlap that you created on the arms. Everything is nice. I think it just lacks a bit of weight. Maybe if you could add a tiny bit more of side to side thing on the chest, so vroom, 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 just a tiny bit more. I see that you have it, but maybe just a tiny bit more would be great. And also when you animate a walk cycle, you have the contact pose here, but you animate it so after the contact pose the body starts to raise. Contact pose, and then the body raises. And as I said before on the other critique, when you plant a foot, you need to give the hips like a couple of frames, 3 frames, 4 frames, depend of the intensity of the movements, for the hips to slow down, to settle, because the hips are going down, so it's not going to be possible for the character just as he plants the heel on the floor, the hips start moving up. It's going to take the hips a couple of frames to slow down the movement, and so that he can raise again up. So in these frames, maybe the 2 first frames where he's already planted, keep the hips going down, so we could see also the bend on the knee. So if we see the knee bending as he plants the foot, we can see the weight, because the weight is causing the knee to bend, so it gives a more credible weight to the animation. Also, I see that when he plants the heel, it takes about all these frames for the foot to be completely flat on the ground. It depends on the character, but for most animations, we would want to have like contact pose, and like 3 frames, 2 frames later, the foot would be completely flat on the ground. So instead of just doing a slow transition where the foot slowly contacts the ground. Just make contact pose, 2 frames later, completely flat on the ground. Also be careful here, if you have the ground here, be careful because now here the toes are just trespassing the ground, even though you don't have a ground here. But yeah, avoid that kind of things where the toes or the feet are just going through the ground. And also, I don't know if you wanted to animate as if he's pushing himself with he's walking also with the arms. I don't think the arms are just swinging, that he's actually using them to walk. Yeah, I think that he's using them to walk. So for the way to be more credible, and make sure that, see how the shoulder starts to raise here already, and then it stays all this way, raises just a tiny bit more, instead of maybe raising it that high, or just keep that raise. That raise is again good, but as he puts weight on this arm, if he's actually putting weights on his arm, make sure that the shoulder raises so we can see the weight being put on that arm, because otherwise it just feels that the arms are just swinging. If we see that as he pushes with the arm, the shoulder go up, we can feel that he's putting weight, so we can feel the weight of the character. So yeah, that would be the note for the arm. Also, I think there's something weird here. See how the arm starts to move back, then it stops, and then starts again. Let me see here. The side view doesn't seem that much. See here, see this on this arm, this is a pop here. See, so how it's fluid, nice, and boom, this is a pop. So yeah, make sure that you fix that, because yeah, in the side view I can see it as well. See how the smooth movement, small spacing, and pop. Over 1 frame the arm travels back with a big spacing. So yeah, just make sure that the movement, the spacing is more fluid there. And yeah, overall I really like it. Really like it, man. Maybe if you could add a bit more overlap on the head, so it's not completely balanced, but you have a bit more overlap as he walks, that would be really nice. Doesn't have to do much, because you have a big tree, so you don't want to have it just swinging back and forth a lot, but just a tiny bit, so we don't see it just going up and down rigidly, but we could see like the head, because right now if you check the head, it seems a bit rigid there. So if you can add a bit more overlap on the head, I think that would be great. And also I mean, that's a bit more, this note is a bit more complex. I don't want to overwhelm you with notes, but just so you know, for the next exercise maybe, the back also seems a bit rigid. See how the line of action stays there all the time. It's normal because it's a walk cycle, but maybe if you could, as he's involving all the arms and the legs, maybe you would want to have a bit more of a like in the head, but on the back, just a kind of wave feeling on the body as he walks. So when he goes up, the chest would drag back a little bit, and as he goes down, the chest would recover to this position to drag him back. So as he goes up and down, the chest rotates back and forth a tiny bit. I think that would add a bit more fluidity and appeal to the animation, but that's really a polish note. If you want to try and see how if it works for you. But yeah, I think that's all the notes for this exercise. And you have this one as well. I mean, this one is really good. I mean, I would ask you to do a render viewport on this one, because there are a few notes here that I would like to give you, but I'm not sure if it's because of the timing of the playback timing, or it's actually the real timing. So if you can do a render viewport of this one, just the main thing that I notice is when he moves back here, see how the top part is dragging back, but then see all these frames as he's dragging back, boom, nice, really big movement here, great. But then this movement forward, the top part, as he's dragging back and moving forward, the top part should, like a whip, should just move back really fast. So instead of just this is still forward, this would have to be boom, and by this moment this part should already be just dragging completely back, because right now you have it so that they reach that pose in this frame, but it actually should be boom, in this part should be already on the extreme. This would be dragging back all the way. So yeah, that's the main note for this one. I would like to see it with the original timing, so with the render viewport timing, but overall I really like it. I can see that you worked quite a lot on this one. Maybe the wrists, see how over they just boom, see, see how over one frame they are just a bit rotated, and over one frame they just go straight towards camera. So maybe do the transitions, the rotation a bit smoother, and also be careful, because as soon as the fist touch the ground, they shouldn't be sliding. So as soon as the fist touch the ground, just make them move back and forth, so as he's walking, but don't move them sideways, because if you move them sideways, it feels like they are not on the ground, they are just sliding there. So yeah, make sure that as soon as they touch the ground, they don't slide. All this, just make sure that they are not sliding. So if you want to have them a bit longer on the air so that they take longer to touch the ground, so they don't slide, or just remove that part where they keep moving in, that's fine, but just make sure that once they touch the ground, they don't keep moving in and out. Same here, see how they open and they close again, the fists. You want to move them forward and backwards, because he's moving forward, but don't move them sideways. Always keep them on the same line, because that's how imagine that you are walking on a treadmill. You can move the foot forward. If you just record yourself, you see the foot just moving back and forth, but you're never gonna see them move them sideways. So that's it. And yeah, that concludes That concludes my feedback. Hope you liked it. Hope it was helpful for you. And until next time.